Aglo. They left her in the woods to die after raping her. She cried, begged, and prayed as it was happening, feeling like the Creator had forsaken her.
Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone, and salutations and peace be upon the elect pushing the truth. All right, this is Thanksgiving, the true story. All right, but before I get into that, I found this article. I was just looking up before I finished the lesson, writing it up. Columbus Day, because in Canada here we have Thanksgiving Day. In America, the brothers, they got that bullshit Columbus Day. And I just happened to type in Columbus Day, and this is what came up. It says Columbus Day, here to stay. Alright, just like that motto, the Washington Redskins, which is a racist term, the football team, and these crackers are saying we will never ever change that name, when clearly in history that refers to the scalping and skinning of Native Americans. We need to refer to it as redskin, but they say the proud devil, the white man, he's proud. That's what the scripture says. All right, so they say we will never ever change it. So here is an article from what is this, U.S. News. All right, and this is from October 9th. All right, October 9th, 2014, 6:15 p.m. Okay, it says, and this is what it says: Columbus Day is increasingly viewed not only as a 24-hour mattress sale, but as the undeserved celebration of a tyrant who tortured and enslaved Native Americans. Alright, and this is, by the way, a statue of Columbus, this piece of shit motherfucker right here. A statue of Christopher Columbus looks over Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic. You know, and then, like I was saying, man, when I first saw this statue should be fucking destroyed, man. Alright, you should fucking just take the head off of this fucking statue, man. You know, the very fact that this statue is in Hispaniola, man, that's a fucking shame, man. You fucking Latin tribes, you fucking Latin tribes that aren't waking up, that's why Yahweh Shem Yahushua is gonna kill you, man. Alright, I'm talking to you Spicks, I'm talking to you dumbass Tomahawks. Alright, the Most High is gonna fuck you up, man. Alright, if you don't come out of that bullshit. Alright? So, they just told you, this is U.S. News, man. This is not no fucking conspiracy site for you cocksuckers out there talking about you guys are conspiracy theorists. This is U.S. News, man. A well-known public news a website, article, station, whatever you want to call it. You know? Mainstream news, right? And it just told you he's a tyrant who tortured and enslaved Native Americans, but yet you still celebrate him as a hero. Showing you, all you white people, you're all devils, man. Your heroes are murderers and thieves, man. This is the crazy world we're living in, man. That's how you know this is Babylon the Great. You are celebrating a fucking tyrant, and then yet you claim this is the home of the land of the free, home of the brave. All right. It says harsh criticism of the Genoese explorer, which he wasn't from Genoa anyway. He was an Italian. His real name was Cristobal Colon. He was a so-called Jew, a Khazar, which had access to the Vatican records. He had access to the Vatican records, man. Research him. Don't believe me. Go research it yourself. Okay? Once found only on the fringe, has gone mainstream and has expanded to major cities across the country. This year, the city councils of Minneapolis and Seattle voted to honor Indigenous Peoples Day instead of Columbus Day, following a multi-year trickle of municipalities that have taken similar action, because the truth is coming out on this devil, man. Alright. Alright, it says the federal government first encouraged citizens to celebrate Columbus, who explored the Caribbean beginning in 1492 with a presidential proclamation in 1892. According to the National Columbus Celebration Association, in 1934, Congress passed legislation making it an official holiday. So my question is, America was, you know, is English, British, right? Mainly, you had Spanish, you had French, Dutch, but mainly it was Britain, right? Then you had the War of Independence and whatnot. So why would they celebrate Columbus? Because it's all the same shit. They want to, you know, they want to make it seem like, oh, French, Dutch, British, Spanish, Portuguese, they're all the same devils, man. Columbus came for that same purpose, to bring Edomites, Edom, the nation of Edom, Esau, or Edom, who was these so-called white people, you Caucasians, to the New World, and to steal this land and murder the people on it, which are North American Indians, which are the tribe of Gad, Reuben. You went to the islands, to Simeon, to Ephraim, to Manasseh, all right? And you slaughtered them, you killed them, enslaved them, okay? So that's why they celebrate this devil, because I thought he's Spanish, I thought he's Italian, right? Why you guys praising why do you have he's almost like a patron saint. Why do you have a hero, celebrating a hero that is Italian or Spanish, right? Because it doesn't matter. He brought that same he brought you crackers over to this world, man. Basically, you know, he gave you that passage. It says the relevant federal law says the president is requested to proclaim the holiday every year on the second Monday in October, thus giving most federal employees a day off work. President Barack Obama has faithfully done so each year of his presidency. You know, showing he's not for you blacks and Latinos, man, because he proclaimed this holiday throughout his whole presidency, man, faithfully. He proclaimed it a holiday. Holiday goes back to the word holy day. They deem Columbus Day a holy day. So they deem killing you blacks and natives as a holy thing, as a holy day. You know, they killed you, then they make it a holy day, man, a celebration. And then, yo, man, you niggas and spicks that celebrate Thanksgiving and Columbus Day, man, you got some serious fucking problems, man. You got some serious goddamn Stockholm syndrome, man. You got a lot of fucking problems, man. All right, you fucking natives that are having Thanksgiving. All right, you got a lot of fucking problems, man. You know. So that was it, man. There's a little more, but I just want to bring that out quick. This wasn't even part of the lesson, but you know. Bullshit. Thanks Columbus Day, because in Canada we have Thanksgiving and America has Columbus Day. It's the same shit. All right, in my research, what Thanksgiving, what it is the same as Columbus Day. Columbus Day is the origin, which is the downfall and destruction of our people. All right, so with that, I'm gonna go the scripture here. All right. This is Micah 2:1, and it says, "Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand." It says, "And they covet fields and take them by violence." What does covet mean? When you covet that, when it says "thou shalt not covet," meaning you see something and you want it and you take it. Right, so that's what it says. And they covered fields, which what is another word for fields? Land, and take them by violence. How did you take? You saw this land. You saw that it was plush. It was you could grow great food and grain on here. You know, you can farm this land. You can till it. You coveted it. You wanted it in your heart, and you took it by what? By violence. You didn't take it by treaties, man. You know, the treaties you made, you broke. The treaties you made to bandage the treaties you broke those treaties. All right, so you took them by violence, man. But whether you spread your bullshit epidemics, your smallpox, your measles, your tuberculosis, or actually use the sword, you use a literal sword. All right, you use cannons, you use Hotchkiss guns, you use the what's that other one? I used Gatling guns. You know, you use Henrys. Okay, so you took them by violence. This land that you're standing on is taken by violence, man. It's not a fairy tale land. It's not Willy Wonka's factory, man. It's not Disneyland. You know, Columbus came here and then here we are 500 years later. Everything is good. This continent has a bloody history, man. And that's why this land, everything is cursed, man. From your, you know, go to your pop culture, go to your entertainment fields, and look up a lot of these movies, man. your urban legends. A lot of that stems from the bloodshed that was spilled on this land, because when you spill people's blood, especially the nation of Israel, because we are the apple of the Most High's eye, meaning that, you know, when you touch the white of your eye, what do? You squint. You know, you close your eye, you move away, because it's very uncomfortable and it hurts. Guess what? When you white people were messing up our people, the natives and blacks, that's what you're doing to the Most High's eye, because we're precious to the Most High. So, like I was going into, like, these urban legends, man. Go to your not your Zeitgeist. Shit. There's a movie. It's like a German word, poltergeist. You know, why are all these spirits messing with you, man? Why are all these earthquakes and terrible things happen to you, white people, in your neighborhoods, in your suburbs, man? It's because of that land you're standing on. Some of them might be on literal burial mounds, burial ground. You know, you got a lot of restless spirits there, or the Most High just sends spirits to jack you up. Some of that land might like blood literally was spilt on it. You know, and the general land of this whole continent, of these countries, Canada, America, Mexico, Central America, it's just, once you spill the blood, it tells you that the Most High, justice has to be served, man. All right. Reading on, it says, and houses, and take them away, so they oppress a man and his house. Right? Even a man and his heritage. You oppress us. When you took the Negroes from the west coast of Africa, you oppress him and his heritage. You took away his heritage, his language, his customs. When he came to the natives, you made laws. You put the children, the next generation, in residential schools and said, listen, you can't talk your native language, you can't practice your culture. You made laws against certain ceremonies. All right, so you oppress a man and his heritage. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, verse 3, behold, against this family, meaning you Edomites, because there's many families of the earth. You had Noah, he had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. They had sons, which became nations, which became families. So against this family, which family? This is not plural. This is singular. This family, not these families. This family. It's talking about Edom. All right? Edom is the family he's talking about. Against this family do I devise an evil. This is the Most High speaking. So the Most High is devising evil against you. That's why you crackers, man, go on this website called on YouTube, Jason A. And all kinds of shit is happening around America, man. You crackers, if it's not earthquakes or sinkholes or hurricanes messing you up, lightning strikes you. You know, you got so-called UFOs beaming you crackers up, messing you up, man, messing around with your house. You got spirits messing you up. You know, if it's not the physical, it's the celestial, man. You know, jacking you fucking people up, man. You crackers, mainly you crackers. But a lot of you heathens are coming up here to this land and you're being proud against our people, so the Most High is fucking you up too. Alright? It says, from which ye shall not remove your necks, neither shall ye go haughtily, meaning proudly. So you crackers, you're gonna be brought low soon, man. You crackers, you're proud. You niggas, you spicks, you wetbacks. You redskins, you Perry niggers, right? You talk shit about us, man. You know, but it's not gonna be like that soon. For this time is evil. This time is evil, man. All right, great evils are coming to this fucking side of the world, man. They're already here, but it's gonna escalate, man, to a great point. It tells you that the Most High. I'm paraphrasing, but there's a scripture that says the Most High is going to bring judgments in the earth. Then shall the inhabitants learn righteousness. All right, you people, you're gonna, oh Jesus, please, hey, like in those videos, man, you got hurricanes and tornadoes. Jesus, help me, Jesus, right? You crackers. But then all throughout your day, you're a pedophile. You're fucking molest your dog. You know, watch kitty porn. All right, do all kinds of madness. But then when hell comes upon you, when the judgment of the Lord, oh Jesus, help me, please. You know, bunch of damn devils, man. It says, verse 4, in that day shall one take up a parable against you, and that's us, man, and men of the Most High. We're taking up parables. That's why. What is a parable? It's a story that it's a metaphor basically. It's a story within a story. All right, it's a saying that is not easily understood. That's why when people watch this video, they may say, "What the hell is this guy talking about? Edom, Esau, and God?" And oh, you're just twisting this. Because it's a parable, man. It's not an open saying. You know, the only people that can understand this is the brothers that the Most High Yahweh Shem Yahushai has ordained them to understand. All right. It says, "And lament with a doleful lamentation, and say, we be utterly spoiled. He had changed the portion of my people." Yeah, man. Hey, man. We get mad at our people, 2/3. We curse them out. Hey, but there's certain times where I feel sorry for our people, man. I see Jake out there, you know, bugged out as hell, man, asking for change from you fucking crackers, man. I see Gad out there, you know, drunk as hell. Every week we go out there or whatever. I'm out on the streets, man. I see our people, hearing about them sniff or drinking hairspray and all kinds of shit, man. I feel sorry for our people, man, and that makes me more mad against you fucking crackers, man. And you other heathens that come over here, man. You know. It says, "How hath he removed it from me? Turning away, he had divided our fields. Therefore thou shalt have none that shall cast a cord by lot in the congregation of the Lord. Prophesy ye not, say they." That's what you people say. "Oh, why you guys here? Get away." You know? Well, you had one stupid bitch, Somalian bitch, come up and say, "Get out of here." No, you go, you get the fuck out of here, man. We're doing what we're supposed to be doing. Alright, a lot of you people say, don't do this, don't, you know, why are you guys here? This is Canada. Yeah, you're right, this is Canada. This is stolen land. That's what we mean by this is Canada. Alright? It says, "To them that prophesy," I'm going to read it again, verse 6, "Prophesy ye not, say they, to them that prophesy. They shall not prophesy to them, that they shall not take shame." Alright, because you crackers are ashamed. That's why every one of you heathens, man. 2/3 of you Jake, all you guys are ashamed. That's why we're prophesying every Saturday out there. The brothers across the world, they're prophesying every Saturday, and they're bringing that shame to your face. That's why you say, "Oh, don't say that." You know? Alright? So without further ado, I'm going to get into the history of Thanksgiving, basically. Alright, try to go as much as I can into it, you know. Okay, so excuse the bad lighting, but that's just the current situation. But this is from a book called North American Indian Wars by Richard H. Dillon. Alright, and this is from page 17. So with the Thanksgiving, I'm just gonna say this. Basically, when you read about it, you know, go Wikipedia. They say there's many cultures that declare Thanksgiving, and basically the general outline of it is when your harvest comes, you know, you harvest your crop that year and you give thanks to God and you have a ceremony. But the Thanksgiving I'm talking about is a Thanksgiving that occurred on this side of the world when the pilgrims came to the natives. All right, and in school, what you learn, you know, and I was compelled to do this, man, because this year, I don't know why this year, as opposed to past years, I just, you know, when you're walking by people or you hear people's conversations on the bus, you just hear all kinds of bullshit about, oh, Thanksgiving, and you hear little kids and Israelite kids saying, "Oh, mommy, when are we gonna do Thanksgiving dinner?" And it just fucking irritates me, man. All right, I was even in a store and it says, "Oh, this store will be closed in observance of Thanksgiving Day," man. So I got very angry, man. All right, so I was compelled to do this lesson. You know, the Spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushai showed me a lot of information. You know, you had a brother come up to camp and he asked also, what is this Thanksgiving? You know, why did they make us keep it? Why is it a statutory holiday? You know, what is it all about? So I was compelled to do it. All right. So like I said, I'm gonna start in Virginia. Okay. Even though the traditional one is in Massachusetts Bay, 1622, around there. But I'm gonna start in Virginia because that's where the true Thanksgiving really started. And you know, Thanksgiving really stemmed like from when, you know, from the things I've read and researched. Basically, to me, the basic outline of Thanksgiving is Esau, the white man, whether he be Spanish, Portuguese, English, French, it doesn't matter. It's them thanking their God, who is Satan, for destroying our people. That's what it is. He's giving thanks to Satan. for destroying our people. But you be the judge, all right? So this is from page 17 in Virginia. And like I said, excuse the bad lighting, but I'm going to try to catch it as best I can. So it says, the first permanent Anglo-American settlement was Jamestown, Virginia. It nearly didn't succeed. Within just 12 hours of landing on April 26, 1607, the English were fighting a small skirmish with the native Virginians. Well, fortunately, the engagement did not blaze up into a war. Okay, so what you hear about Thanksgiving is the Pilgrims came and they didn't survive their first, or they almost didn't survive their first winter. Half their numbers died in the colony, and the next spring, summer, the natives showed them how to fish, hunt, and eat, live off the land. All true. All right. The skirmish, and you had little skirmishes here and there, but for the most part, the natives were at peace with them. They didn't declare no all-out war. It might have been a miscommunication. The Gaddis didn't know who they were, so they started shooting arrows, and the white man started shooting their rifles and etc. But it didn't, like it said, blow up into a full-blown war. Okay, it says, although there were riffraff among the Virginia colonists, they were less greedy for gold than their Hispanic rivals, and more content to stay put and till the fields in hope for friendship with their Indian neighbors. It was an uneasy peace, but it was peace. Without it, the tiny English enclave had no chance of surviving. All right. It says, perhaps the Indians were curious or merely patient. In any case, as they watched, the colony dwindled from disease and malnutrition. Of the 900 original settlers of 1607, barely 150 were still alive in 1610. Okay. It says, the king of the local Indians was called Powhatan, though his real name was Wahon Seneca or Wahon Sonakok, sometimes miscalled the Mighty Wheel once. An Indian frequently kept his true name a secret and went by an alias or nickname in order to prevent enemies from seizing a part of his soul by means of this too intimate knowledge of his name or personality. Hey, that's Jake too, man. The brothers deal with women. Don't give out your real name. Damn sure don't give out your Hebrew name. That's a spiritual thing. So this is page 18. Next page. It says, this is talking about the chief. He taught the English to cultivate corn and tobacco, but sometimes refused them corn in starving times in order to keep them dependent on him. All right. So this is a little understanding of the colony. The Pilgrims came. They almost died off, and the natives took them in and showed them how to plant and everything. If you watch the movie The New World with this guy, I believe his name is Colin Farrell, and Christian Bale, I believe it was from 2001. This is the story of Pocahontas, and it's mainly accurate, but there's certain things that go off for dramatization's sake, I guess. But yeah, they came in there, they almost died off, and then they showed them how to plant and this and that. And we're gonna read that story here actually. So it says, early on, so the colonies are surviving by means of the natives helping them. It says, early on, Smith fell into Powhatan's hands while exploring and mapping the colony. All right, so this is Esau trying to expand now. He was about to be put to death by having his head bashed in by a war club when Powhatan's 12-year-old daughter Pocahontas intervened to save his life. Like the Gaddites could have killed them, man. They could have destroyed them. They could have had Esau wiped off. But it's prophecy that this happened. It couldn't have happened any other way, man, because it was prophecy. It's the Most High's will. And every time I read this, man, I always think, I'm thinking the same thing you brothers are thinking, man. Why didn't these Gaddites just fucking destroy them, man? Because even in the movie The New World, they had a council. They said, listen, should we kill these people? And it was the Most High Spirit that made them not kill the English, It says her name was Matoka, so her name wasn't really Pocahontas. See, like, they hid their real names. It says, but she did not want it used by strangers. Smith wrote, the savages, so this is Captain John Smith, the great English captain, right? He called them savages. He says, the savages did think that, did we know her real name, we should have the power of casting an evil eye upon her. It says, as a child, Pocahontas liked to play with colonist children turning cartwheels in the dusty streets of Jamestown. As she grew older, she not only donned buckskins but matured into a remarkably adept ambassadress for her father. So she was an ambassadress for her father, basically, going, talking with the pilgrims. Since she frequented Jamestown as much as her own village, she was a pledge of peace. But she also worked successfully to restore captives to one side or another and visited the town on other errands of mercy. After she brought provisions to the hungry Jamestonians, she was virtually adopted by the grateful and hard-pressed settlers. Captain John Smith said of her, "She, under God, was the instrument to preserve this colony from death, famine, and utter confusion." Later, warning Smith of an impending raid, subsequently cancelled by her father, she probably saved Jamestown for a second time, the first being her rescue of the captain from execution. Smith reminisced, "Blessed Pocahontas, the great king's daughter of Virginia, often saved my life." So that was, that's our people, man. Fucking saving the devil. Next page, it says, Captain Sir Samuel Argall bullied a chief into reluctantly revealing her retreat, and Argall seized her for the governor. This is talking about Pocahontas. So they actually kidnapped Pocahontas. showing you the devil. No other way I can put it. He bore her off into what was euphemised as honored captivity in March or April of 1613. She was placed in the care of Sir Thomas Dale and a Reverend Whitaker. It says Governor Dale used her as a hostage to keep Powhatan at bay and to ease haggling negotiations over English prisoners. In seizing Pocahontas, Dale was only imitating his predecessor as Sir Thomas Gates, who tricked, trapped, and killed Indians as part of his diplomacy with the Red Nations. So, what was going on? You gotta kind of think of it in your head as a narrative, as a story. The white man was there, and they were living, and they already knew how to survive. But there were small skirmishes, man, and there were rumors, and Edomite might go in the woods and come back dead, and that's just because of the harsh winter, or Gadda might have killed him, and then you had the vice versa. So you had these little skirmishes and confusion things happen, but it wasn't an all-out war. The Gaddites could have killed them. That's the whole point. But they kept the peace. But look at this devil. He tricked, trapped, and killed Indians. So down here, it says, peaceful coexistence tested first by Smith's withdrawal from Jamestown and tried further by Pocahontas' departure ended with Powhatan's death in 1618. If the chief had been sour, his brother and successor, Opechancanough, was bitter with hatred. No one knows the reason for his rancor unless it was the incident in which Captain Smith had to poke a horse pistol into his ribs, briefly taking him hostage in order to get himself out of a tight situation. So there's another situation where Smith had to take the chief's brother, who's now the chief, hostage. And now he's the chief, so guess what he wants to do? So there was these little hostilities and things, and I'm going to bring up more info. Basically, it was the English provoking them. That's what was going on. The English, the devil, the white man, alright? So down here, it says, Opechancanough bided his time, then chose Good Friday, March 22nd, 1622, to turn on the Englishmen. He had a good excuse, the illegal execution of an Indian, Nementano, for the suspected murder of a gentleman named Morgan, who disappeared on a trading trip to the interior. Murderer or an innocent, the Indian made the mistake of wearing the missing man's hat. Morgan's servant shot him. In a bloody surprise attack, the Indians killed 347 men, women, and children, including their devoted teacher and would-be Christianizer, George Thorpe. The toll, about one-third of the colony's strength, was far more higher than it should have been. Only a fortnight before striking, the chief had boasted of his upcoming revenge on the English, and to no one else but Governor Francis Wyatt. Only 6 of 80 plantations were spared. but Jamestown managed a desperate survival because of the warning of a Christian Indian boy, Chanko, a fucking Uncle Tom. He was ordered to kill his master, Mr. Pace, but would not do so and instead alerted him to the plot. Inside Jamestown flimsy walls, the king of victims dreamed of revenge for the massacre. Pretending to be timid and fearful, the whites seemingly sued for peace. They invited the Indians to a council to drop a treaty, assuring them, perhaps swearing on their Bibles, that their lives were sacred around the council fires. The hate-filled Opechen Kano was not to be trusted either, but if he intended treachery, he was forestalled. The white peacemakers pounced on their red brethren, killing many of them. Unluckily for the plotters, one of those who got away was the chief. Okay? Down here it says, beleaguered little Jamestown decided that its only hope lay in the extermination of the Indians, ringing the settlement. Rather than trust them again in peace, said Governor Wyatt, it is infinitely better to have no heathen among us. After Opechen Kano's betrayal, patrols were sent to destroy Indian villages and crops to force the red men to withdraw further inland. More natives were killed in Virginia in 1622 than in the prior 15 years. So that's the story right there. That's like the little intro, the origins. All right. Alright, now I'm going to go into this book called God, Greed, and Genocide. Alright, by Arthur Grink, page 148. I'm just going to go a little info. Right, it says, English exploration and attempts at settlement occurred in the early 17th century, but didn't fare very well. One problem was that the French had already established permanent settlements in the area and were involved in reciprocal trading relations with native peoples. Moreover, the English adopted a more militaristic stance than the French, which included attacking and kidnapping coastal Indians and selling them into slavery. So you got Israelites, oh, the Indians never won the slavery. Yes, they did. You had natives as slaves, man. Along with the natives in Canada, they called themselves the Pawnee, or the white man called them the Pawnee. All right. However, a factor other than the treatment of the native population paved the way for a permanent English presence in New England. This was disease. The first few years of contact between Indians and the new settlers were fairly peaceful. Like we read, right? It was they had skirmishes, this and that, but then basically, like, come on, like, the man takes you as hostage, and he takes one of your women, or sisters, not sister, but you know what I mean, one of your people as a hostage, Pocahontas, and all these things happen, and they kill a Gadite. The next chief, the brother that was taken hostage, he comes to be his chief. His brother died. He's just gonna say, listen, these crackers just bringing disease and madness amongst. Let's just wipe them out. All right. A local Wampanoag who had been kidnapped by an English ship captain in 1614 and sold into slavery to the Spaniards, but then had escaped and made his way back to New England, helped smooth contact between the Pilgrims and native peoples in the area. It says this uneasy state of affairs was exacerbated by a number of factors. It says smallpox struck the eastern Massachusetts in 1633 and 1634, killing thousands. For the Puritans, this was proof that God intervened on their behalf at a time when they were seeking new areas of settlement for their increasing population. Also, like other Europeans, the Puritans subscribed to the theory of vacuum domicilium, which claimed that unsettled land could be forfeited to those who would settle and cultivate it. They maintained, therefore, that the Indians had no right to any land they roamed rather than settled. Alright? And then page 150, it says, the direct cause for the outbreak of war between the Puritans and the Pequot was the murder of 2 ship captains and their crews. So this is the Pequot Wars, another small example of the controversy and the rumors and basically bullshit that the devil brought among the Gadites. It says, blaming the Pequot, the Puritans used this as a pretext to attack the unsubmissive Pequot, sending a joint Connecticut-Massachusetts force against them. In the war that followed, the Pequot were able to withstand the English until the latter surrounded a Pequot village on the Mystique River in May 1637. The English and the Narragansett, which is another tribe, whom the English had succeeded in recruiting as allies, attacked before dawn. They set fire to the Pequot wigwams and then retreated. Because the Pequot warriors were at another village, most of the people fleeing the fire were non-combatants. The war continuing, some captured Pequot were sold to other tribes and others shipped to the West Indies to be enslaved. Ultimately, the Pequot resistance was broken. Most of the remaining Pequot were then killed either by the colonists or at the insistence of the colonists. It says, commenting on the destruction of the Pequot, one Puritan militia captain wrote that at Mystique Fort God laughed his enemies and the enemies of his people to scorn, making them as a fiery oven, and filling the place with dead bodies. At the Treaty of Hartford in 1638, the Pequot nation was declared dissolved. 2 generations later, a pillar of the Puritan ministry, Cotton Mather, reiterated, in little more than 1 hour, 500 or 600 of these barbarians were dismissed from a world that was burdened with them. Alright, so this is the white man giving thanks to God, to their God, which is Satan, really, because they don't believe in the Most High. Alright, and like I said, this is the legacy of Thanksgiving. This was what was going on. There was no one account of Thanksgiving. Like I said, Thanksgiving was just the white man killing our people. Thanks for teaching us how to plant crops and this and that. We're gonna take our harvest. After killing you, take our harvest and then give thanks. Have a good ceremony among ourselves and give thanks to God for killing the savages and get having food. That's straight up. That's what the fuck Thanksgiving is about, man. So I'm gonna go to this book. So this is really dealing with the Virginia part. So this is a book called The 10 Tribes of Israel by Timothy R. Jenkins. I'm gonna go to page 101. This is really going into the rumors and how the white man tried to provoke the natives and do all that madness. Because like we were reading, the first chief was Powhatan, and there were small little battles and this and that. Not even battles, but they kidnapped Pocahontas. They kidnapped or held hostage the chief's brother, Opichin Kanu, and a lot of bullshit was going on, stirring up. So when the chief died, his brother, who was held hostage, came into power. He just said, "Fuck these people, man. We're gonna take them out because they're just causing strife among our people." Alright, so this is page 101. It says, it is a matter of fact, proved by most historical accounts, that the Indians, at our first acquaintance with them, talking about the English, generally manifested themselves kind, hospitable, and generous to the Europeans, so long as they were treated with humanity. But when they were, from a thirst of gain, overreached on every occasion, their friends and relatives treacherously entrapped and carried away to be sold as slaves, themselves injuriously oppressed, deceived, and driven from their lawful and native possessions. What ought to have been expected but inveterate enmity, hereditary animosity, and a spirit of perpetual revenge? It says, to whom should be attributed the evil passions, cruel practices, and vicious habits to which they are now changed, but to those who first set them the example, meaning the white man, laid the foundation, and then furnished the continual means for propagating and purporting the evil. In a very early day in the colony of Virginia, the first settlers, by their great impudence, had soured the Indian temper, raised their jealousy, and provoked their free and independent spirits, so as to lead them to determine on the extirpation of the whole colony.
then few, weak, and divided, right? The Indians managed their intended attack with so much secrecy that they surprised the colonists in every quarter and destroyed near 1/4 of them. In their turn, the survivors waged a destructive war against the Indians and murdered men, women, and children. It says Dr. Robertson says, regardless, like the Spaniards, of those principles of faith, honor, and humanity which regulate hostilities among civilized nations and set bounds to their rage, the English deemed everything allowable that tended to accomplish their designs. They hunted the Indians like wild beasts rather than enemies, and as the pursuits of them to their places of retreat in the woods was both difficult and dangerous, they attempted to allure them from their inaccessible fastnesses by offers of peace and promises of oblivion, made with such an artful appearance of sincerity as deceived the crafty Indian chief and induced the Indians to return in the year 1623 to their former settlements and resume their usual peaceful occupations. The behavior of the two peoples seemed now to be perfectly reversed. The Indians, like men acquainted with the principles of integrity and good faith, confided in the reconciliation and lived in absolute security without suspicion of danger, while the English, with prodigious craft, were preparing to imitate savages in their revenge and cruelty. On the approach of harvest, Thanksgiving, when an hostile attack would be most formidable and fatal, the English fell suddenly on the Indian plantations, murdered every person on whom they could lay hold on, and drove the rest to the woods, where so many perished with hunger that some of the tribes nearest to the English were totally extirpated. This is from History of North America, 96-97. So that was some info on the Virginia part. Alright, because when you read, mainly we're talking about the Massachusetts Bay Colony, you know, but there's a lot of info on Virginia. There's one last part I want to bring out of Virginia, and then we're going to move to the Massachusetts Bay Area. So this is from a book called American Indian Holocaust and Survival, okay, by Russell Thornton. I'm going to go to page 68, referring to the Virginia Pilgrims. And there's some barbaric motherfuckers, man. Basically, man, who the Pilgrims were, they're a bunch of criminals from Europe. Because you had a black man in Europe ruling, and he just cast them out from the prisons of Europe and made them go across to sail, you know. And yeah, man, they were basically a bunch of criminals, man. Fucking murderers, thieves, disease-ridden cocksuckers, man. I just gotta bring it on like that. That's what they were. So this is from page 68, right? And it says, after establishing Jamestown, the colonists themselves had a difficult time in their new world. They suffered especially from a bad diet, starvation, and an epidemic, apparently of typhoid. Life was so hard in 1609 and 1610 that the period was called starving time. Okay? Much of the suffering, however, was apparently their own fault. Robert Beverley wrote 100 years afterwards that this was so for wasting their old provisions and neglecting to gather others. Beverley further noted of the colonists, they continued in these scanty circumstances till they were at least reduced to such extremity as to eat the very hides of their horses and the bodies of the Indians they had killed. And sometimes also upon a pinch they would not disdain to dig them up again to make a homely meal of after they had been buried. Showing you these fucking crackers, man. That's who they were, a bunch of fucking cutthroats, man. That's what cutthroats, the best way to describe them. They see, so when they came, they were killing natives, they were eating their dead bodies, digging them up. They were a bunch of cannibals. You know, the white man says, oh, they had Indians are cannibals. And no, the crackers were cannibals, man. You eating each other. Alright, but then the Indians showed you how to plant food and, you know. So this is from page 69. It says, nevertheless, with the help of the Powhatan Indians, probably in part because of the marriage of Powhatan's daughter Pocahontas to a Jamestown man, John Rolfe, and the Indians' fear of English weapons, the colonists somehow survived their first years. They even began to extend some dominance over the Powhatan. By 1622, however, Powhatan had died and had been succeeded by his brother Opechancanough, which we read earlier. Having had enough of the European intruders and their foreign ways, Opechancanough attacked and killed 500 of the colonists, about 1/4 of their total numbers. It says his undoubted satisfaction was short-lived, however, as in retaliation, the English colonists began what was called the First Indian War, in which they undertook the deliberate and systematic destruction of the Powhatan Confederacy. The colonists were instructed to root the Indians out for being longer people upon the face of the earth. This is pretty much what they did, both to the Powhatan Confederacy and other Virginian tribes. One recorded incident is an example of the colonist warfare. The English in 1623 negotiated a treaty with rebellious tribes in the Potomac River area. After a toast was drunk symbolizing eternal friendship, the Chesapeake chief and his sons, advisors and followers, totaling 200, abruptly dropped dead from poisoned sack, and soldiers put the remainder out of their misery. Alright? That says, minor warfare continued between Virginia Indians and the colonists after Opechancanoug's death, but smallpox and other epidemics are thought to have been more important in subsequent Indian depopulations in the area. Although epidemics had also occurred earlier, one Virginia Indian smallpox epidemic began in 1667 as a result of an infected sailor going ashore in present-day Northampton County and transmitting the disease to surrounding Indians. The usual fatal results transpired, and it was reported that they died by the hundred. In this way, practically every tribe fell into the hand of the Grim Reaper and disappeared. Man, Esau's the damn Grim Reaper. Eventually, a feeling of irresistible malaise overcame the Tidewater Indians in the latter half of the 17th century as they suffered the effects of alcohol, disease, social breakdown, and a decline in population. Okay, so that was the point on Virginia, and I had a little info on Massachusetts Bay, but hopefully brothers kind of understood the real relationship between the Pilgrims and the Gadites, how there was no fucking what do you call it? Thanksgiving dinner with natives got together with the Pilgrims, and they had a turkey dinner and this and that. We just read an account of when they got the chiefs together, they poisoned them. They poisoned the sons and the warriors. They said peace, and then they poisoned them. So that's just a little history, and I got a scripture here. This is Psalms 55 and 20. Alright, it says, he hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He hath broken his covenant, right? When the white man came, there were, like I said, skirmishes, but the Gadites let you live, and they taught you how to live. They taught you how to plant and live off the land, right? But you were fucking killing them and eating their bodies and digging them up, right? And provoking them and doing bullshit among them. So they got rid of you because you broke your covenant. You declared peace, but you broke your covenant, right? It says, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords, right? So the white man came to you smooth as hell, man, and that's the devil for you, smooth as hell. But then he's gonna show you his true colors. So I'm gonna go to the Massachusetts Bay part now, from the same book, North American Indian Wars, Richard H. Dillon, and this is from page 21 under Massachusetts Bay. Alright, it says, far to the north, The settlers of Plymouth Plantation in the Massachusetts Bay Colony were spared the long years of warfare which plagued Virginia. Although the Mayflower had some roughnecks aboard, including America's first murderer, the Pilgrims were better behaved than most Virginians. Plymouth also had a secret weapon, disease. The Mayflower landed its passengers in 1620 in the middle of an epidemic picked up by the Indians from stray Europeans on the New England coast, because even before the Mayflower landed, during Virginians and whatnot, you had English go up north to around Massachusetts, and they were enslaving natives, man. One story was of Squanto. They made a movie, Squanto. He was a native, which they enslaved, and they put him in. They shipped him back to England, and basically he learned their ways and whatnot, and he came back during the time of what you call Thanksgiving, and he tried to make peace between the natives and the English, because he knew their ways. He knew to speak English and whatnot, and the religion, you know. But when he came back, his most of his village, or all of his village, was really decimated or destroyed because of the diseases, smallpox. You know. It says, the Reverend Cotton Mather was pleased to see Indian settlements laid waste by sickness. He took this to be an act of God, for the woods were almost cleared of those pernicious creatures to make room for a better growth. It says much of New England, the Pilgrims found that the ruler of much of New England was the chief of the Wampanoags. His real name was Osamequin, or Yellow Feather, but was addressed by his title Massasoit, or Great Chief. He lived in Pocahontas, New Mount Hope, Rhode Island. Alright, so Massasoit is the name most people know with Thanksgiving, and he did a peace treaty, and we're going to get into it. It says, on March 22nd, 1621, Massasoit brought his brother Quadequina and two leading chiefs, Samoset and Squanto, which earlier, this is 1621, earlier Squanto, he basically came back because he got enslaved. But he came back, but now he knows the ways of the white man, to a powwow in Plymouth. So they gave the chiefs a gill of whiskey. This caused Massasoit unaccountably to break out in a sweat. He was probably allergic to alcohol. In Massasoit's treaty, land for the first time was given away by the Indians, not seized by the whites. The chief handed it to them because it had been emptied of people by the epidemic. Alright. That was some info on that. Now I'm going to go into this book to kind of show you what happened. This is by Where White Men Fear to Tread, basically an autobiography of Russell Means, who's an activist. He was in the American Indian movement. He passed away, I believe, in 2012. But he kind of goes into certain things in the book, and I'm going to read the point on Thanksgiving from page 176. Alright. So this is them, AIM, or American Indian Movement, visiting the Wampanoags, alright, during Thanksgiving. It says, when we met with the Wampanoag people, they told us that in researching the history of Thanksgiving, they had confirmed the oral history passed down through their generations. Most Americans know that Massasoit, chief of the Wampanoag, had welcomed the so-called Pilgrim Fathers and the seldom mentioned Pilgrim Mothers to the shores where his people had lived for millennia. The Wampanoag taught the European colonists how to live in our hemisphere by showing them what wild foods they could gather, how, where, and what crops to plant, and how to harvest dry, and preserve them. The Wampanoag now wanted to remind white America of what had happened after Massasoit's death. He was succeeded by his son, Metacom, whom the colonists called King Philip. In 1676, to show gratitude for for what Massasoit's people had done for their fathers and grandfathers, the Pilgrims manufactured an incident as a pretext to justify disarming the Wampanoag. Basically, they said, oh, there's rumors of war and blah blah blah, and one of your men killed our men, so we got to disarm you. That's what they did. The whites went after the Wampanoag with guns, swords, cannons, and torches. Most, including Metacom, were butchered. His wife and son were sold into slavery in the West Indies. His body was hideously drawn and quartered. For 25 years afterward, Metacom's skull was displayed on a pike above the whites' village. The real legacy of the Pilgrim Fathers is treachery. Most Americans today believe that Thanksgiving celebrates a bountiful harvest, but that is not so. By 1970, the Wampanoag had turned up a copy of a Thanksgiving proclamation made by the governor of the colony. The text revealed the ugly truth. After a colonial militia had returned from murdering the men, women, and children of an Indian village, the governor proclaimed a holiday and feast to give thanks for the massacre. He also encouraged other colonies to do likewise. In other words, every autumn, after the crops are in, go kill Indians and celebrate your murders with a feast. Alright? So that's some heavy info right there on the true story of Thanksgiving. And we're going to go back to the book North American Indian Wars, because I just wanted to introduce who Massasoit was, so you weren't in the dark. We're going to go to page 27, because they mentioned his son Metacom. That's where it happened. His son, the massacre, because it's under King Philip's War, which is his son. So this is what it says, right? The exact cause of the war is unknown. The excuse for the war, as usual, was ridiculous. A suspected murder and the execution of Indian suspects. Probably the violence just grew. It grew out of mounting resentment and resistance by the Indians to white pressure. Though the latter still tended to buy Indian land, not seize it, there were frauds, and the buyers did not understand the Indians' retention of fishing and hunting rights, much like subsoil mineral rights are reserved today in land sales. The English saw the ex-owners as trespassers, violators of a legal contract. You know, and really what happened, like I said, or even when we research it, you had his son Metacom, and basically, you know, well, actually, we're going to read it. I'm not even going to go into it. We're going to read it. It says, after Massasoit's death, his sons, Metacom and Wamsuta, shared power. They seemed to be thoughtful and peaceful Wampanoag Sachems. Alright, and the English named them Philip and Alexander as symbolic gestures of friendship. Still, troubling rumors of a change of heart in the tribe persisted, so in 1662 Alexander was called to Duxbury. Alexander handled the questioning by authorities successfully and visited a friend, Josiah Winslow, in Marshfield. Suddenly the chief came down with a violent fever. He died a few days later on his way home, and his widow accused the whites of poisoning him. Alexander's brother, now sole chief, made no move for revenge, however. On the contrary, he reaffirmed his father's treaty of peace and friendship. But peace deteriorated into an armed truce. Rumors of war, again, right, probably inspired more by Narragansetts than Wampanoags, echoed through 1666 to 69 and early 1671. Since Philip was the most prominent chief in all New England, he was called to Taunton in 1671. This time the authorities were more insensitive and peremptory in their demands than ever. They ordered the proud chief to surrender all guns held by his tribe, and they seized his weapons and those carried by his escort. So showing you what Russell Means said, that the Wampanoag, when they researched it, they said they set up a false pretext to disarm the Indians. That's what they did. That's what the white man just did, right? King Philip was angered by such bullying, but he was not yet ready to resist. He signed the treaty and turned in a few token arms, but most of his braves refused to give up their guns. Philip was recalled, this time to Plymouth again, virtually put on trial, and forced to sign a treaty of abject surrender. This scrap of paper was the last humiliation that Philip could tolerate, he began a plan to push the whites back into the ocean. Alright, but like I said, by that time it was too late, too many damn crackers, man. You know, and the story goes they had the King Philip's War, and Metacom, which was Massasoit's son, he was killed. His head was chopped off, and they put his head on a pike in the colony, and they had it up there for 20 to 25 years, and his family was sold into slavery into the West Indies. And so that was it. You know, I hope your brother's ratified through the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. I know it's a little tedious, but that's the true story of Thanksgiving. So like I said, man, I hear you fucking natives celebrating this bullshit fucking holiday. You know, man, I'm almost like curse you in this holiday, man. You know, you're already damn cursed. I'm even gonna say you're already cursed, man. But you're celebrating a fucking holiday that celebrates the destruction and just a total deterioration of your people, man. You niggas that are celebrating Thanksgiving as well, you were in slavery during this time. You have nothing to be thankful about during this time. All right, Thanksgiving is the destruction and the deterioration of the North American Indians, the Negroes, and the Hispanics, along with Columbus Day. All right, you people that celebrate and have Thanksgiving dinner, we just showed you there was no peace, man. It was just destruction. That's why in your dinners, what is a Thanksgiving dinner without cranberry? Guess what the cranberry represents? The blood of the North American Indians. You have the stuffing. Guess what the stuffing represents? The white man hung the woman, the pregnant woman, cut their bellies open, took the fetus out, and smashed their head out on the rock. Right? You have the turkey. That's the carcasses, man. So you got all these things that are symbolic. All right? So, like I said, death to you niggas and spics and Native Americans that are keeping this fucking bullshit holiday. You know, Brakata Yahweh, Brakata Yahweh Shai for letting me bring this out. You know, double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone, whom I learned the truth from. And salutations and peace be upon the elect pushing the truth of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Shalom.